We've received a lot of phone calls, messages, and comments about the holster I normally use in our videos, and I thought this might be a good way to actually answer some general questions. I've carried a pistol concealed both personally and professionally for over 30 years, and one thing I found is that holsters and holster design are often an afterthought and very often overlooked. Anyone that has carried a gun for any length of time has that box of holsters that just didn't work. Very few people examine the holster to find out what actually the problem is. Most just throw it in the box, they go buy another holster, and they're prepared to junk it as well. Once we find that holster that works, most people don't look any further. Sometimes that holster actually is the perfect holster, but most of the time it's more likely simply just good enough. Most, certainly not all, but most modern holster builders are not even everyday carry people. Most don't even make an effort to understand what works and are simply folding plastic around a mold or sewing material together. Very few holster designs account for anything other than the angle that the holster sits, commonly called cant. Some try and account for ride height, but don't actually take into account balance once the pistol's in the holster and the holster is attached to a belt. Everyday carry holsters that are intended to be concealed should account for, by their design, the same aspects that are important in aviation: pitch, yaw, and roll. Those three aspects, in ratio, create a three-dimensional fit and start to account for proper concealment. If you can't adjust those aspects or realize them in your holster design, it might not be as functional as it could be. It might just fit the category of simply good enough. An entire generation of shooters think that in order for a pistol to be concealed, the holster has to be inside the waistband. That fact is evident just in by how they refer to the operation. I designed our everyday carry line of holsters firstly with a holster that was intended to be worn outside your pants, but inside your belt. Historically, I know that people have carried like that for over 50 years, but never in a purpose-built holster. My personal everyday carry holster is my EDC2 design. Appendix carry isn't new, not by any stretch of the imagination, and historically, holsters weren't designed or built for that purpose. A current trend is centerline carry inside the waistband, and for many, it's perfect, but it's not perfect for most people. I wanted an outside the waistband holster built, intended to be carried in a true appendix fashion. Concealment was first and foremost in my mind, but the holster also had to be comfortable. The holster had to perform. I very firmly believe in developing a surplus of skill when it comes to protecting myself and my family. I didn't want to design a holster that wasn't capable of keeping up with the high standards that I set for myself in training. The holster had to be reliable in case my life or the life of someone else depended upon it. Just like with our magazine pouch design, by outward appearance, all of the design effort and consideration might not be apparent, but the proof is actually in the performance. There's simply no such thing as the perfect holster for every person in every firearm. For me, my EDC2 design is perfect. It's not perfect for everyone, but the closer we get to understanding what makes the perfect holster for each person, the better off those people will be.